How you doing? As everybody knows, my name is J.Williams, author of the books Wrong Turn Right, Source of Information, and of course the Electric Fantasies of Passion 1 and 2. Um, Today I want to, talk a little bit, man, on a serious note, man, my testimony, man, everybody talks about, the good and the bad, but, I wanted to do a little bit of talking about my life story and, the things that shaped my life. As everybody knows, man, I was knee deep in the game, but it didn't start that way. I grew up in a family loved by my mother. Great family background. Had a lot of aunts and uncles, friends, and just like the normal life that everybody else would live. But I don't know if the saying goes a kid is born bad or whatever, but I always felt like I don't know, I was getting in trouble, man, since an early age, man. As far as I can remember, which is probably 4, I've always been the type, man, to act aggressively, man, towards anybody that I felt that wronged me. And even before then, my moms and my parents and my siblings and all my peoples, they used to say that, listen, man, we couldn't bring you around other little kids because you would act crazy and aggressive. So I don't know if that was something I inherited, man, something I was born with, but man, it's something that I lived with for the rest of my life, man. And it only, until I was, out of jail after doing a life sentence did I end up being able to calm those emotions down, being able to control those things, on the street. So yeah, I wanted to get into my testimony because, I feel like a lot of kids, a lot of youths go through the same things that I grew up with, They always say things are always the same. It's just a recycling system, man, and I feel like that's something that is happening now today. A lot of people in my age group would vote these young kids off as being wild and reckless and crazy. And my thing is, they're going through the same things that we went through growing up, and I would say that they're going through it at a lesser stage because we had more violence, we had more gun violence, more murders, more just more people being out on the street acting a fool. So I feel like as a society, man, we're growing, we're learning, man, we're getting our worth, man. You know what I mean, of what we didn't have before, and yeah, I think with the mentors and the knowledge that the people in power, the leaders that we look up to, if we look back to the people at the bottom, man, things can turn around for the greater of our communities, for the greater of our peoples, man, and just for greater of families in general in the neighborhoods. So yeah, I mean, growing up, I learned a lot about the streets, man. I used to be crazy about the streets. I used to look at the streets as end all, man. I used to think of, getting the respect was something that mattered. You know what I mean? It's something that would pay off in the end. I wanted to be the toughest guy. I wanted to be known as the guy who's feared, the guy who hurt you in a minute, man. You know what I mean? But I learned in life, man, that the things that you go through in that small span of time when you're young can carry big consequences, man, for you in the future, way past when you're older. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, that the things that matter to you when you're young truly don't really matter to you when you get older. A lot of the fights and beefs that you had when you were younger, you'll turn around and be cool with some of the people that you had war with just because you spent more time with them in prison than you actually spent time with your friends that of the gang that you claim. I know that's circumstance. I mean, circumstance in so many cases. I know kids that got in the game, came off the porch at 17. By 18, 19, they was doing 20, 30 years. Those 20, 30 years, they have, you know, in contact with the crews and the beefs that they people that was beefing with. If you're on the same compound and you see each other every day, man, eventually, man, you're gonna come to terms where you're like, listen, we both have to live together. And then while being together for so long, you realize that motherfucker might not be a fucking asshole. He might be cool. He might be cooler than the dudes on your block. You never know how a person is until you interact with them, until you're around them, and that's something that we don't afford ourselves by automatically claiming someone else as our enemies without knowing the real reason why we're mad at them. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that I went through as a kid, man, and I feel like these are the things that we need to address now as grown-ups, man, because these are the things that are going to help the youth propel into, you know, excellence if that's what we want them to be. You know what I mean? If we want them to be street thugs, if we want them to be, hoodlums, then we just turn our back on them. We'll do the same thing that, the generation before us did, whereas they didn't really show us the attention we need. They didn't give us the guidance that we deserve. They didn't give us, things and tools we could have learned to invest our money to be better entrepreneurs, to be people, man, that are gonna strive us in a situation that's gonna put us in a different, setting, like legally. You know, I never had anybody say, listen, you did this, but now turn that into legal. Yeah, I was a young entrepreneur. My friends were entrepreneurs, and we tried to find our own path. But there was no one there to say, this is the path I took, and this is where you could win. And I feel like now that we're older, now that we're, you know, already lived the street life, it's our duty to turn around and give that same knowledge, man, of what we can go, where we failed, where we won at, to the younger generation, so that they can not only win, but they can put it on to a whole nother level, man, that they can, go beyond our wildest expectations of what we thought we could have done. But yeah, being in a gang, man, I learned a lot about friendships. I learned a lot about, loyalty. I learned a lot about disloyalty. You know, a lot of things in the game, man, are played at a strange way, man. I always like to say, you put one quarter in, man, that's your game in life. Once that quarter ends, man, that's gonna be the end of your game. Whether that's death or that's jail, you know, it's just how you play it. But I will say this, man, there's a lot of good in gangs as well, man. It's not always, treachery. It's not always um, just bad influences, man. A lot of people gravitate towards gangs because the gangs are a family structure. The gangs are someone who cares about you on a daily basis, someone who's gonna, stand by your side when you need someone you need to talk to when you're going through things. So as well as the bad comes the good in any situation, in any circumstance. But you have to understand, man, the people who were around gangs who didn't really gravitate into the street violence, who, played it safe or whatever, 9 times out of 10, those guys did good in life. Those guys went on to have successful relationships, went on to have, nice big houses, went on to, accomplish dreams, man, while a lot of us were locked up glorifying the game that, didn't love us back. You have to understand what you're getting into when you get into the street life, to the gang life. You're really welcoming death. You're really welcoming, you know, a lot of things that a normal person wouldn't be easy with. Who likes looking over their back? Who likes thinking that someone's gonna fucking always do them wrong? Who likes thinking that you can't trust a person before them, or you have to analyze a person to really get to know a person? Those are things that, man, the street life comes with, man, because those things, sadly, sometimes, represent whether you're going to live or die in the streets. For those that don't know, I did natural life, life without parole. I did 12 years, man, locked behind the jail system, but it wasn't my first rodeo. Since I was like 17, well, let's even go before then. When I was 13, 14, I was always, you know, um, catching cases, man. And a lot of times, man, those cases have to do with, you know, race cases. I had a lot of anger in me because for those that don't know, Boston was divided. Boston was segregated, man, like crazy. I hear a lot about, oh, the language of, oh, the Boston accent. Well, there was no Boston accent in the Boston inner city. When you talk about Boston, you're really talking about Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury, South End. Of course, there's other parts of Boston like South Boston, Charlestown, and all that, but those are different areas. Those areas don't interact with the inner city and never really have. You know what I mean? Except for a few key spots. But yeah, man. Like I grew up on the Mattapan Hyde Park borderline, so I grew up in Mattapan, but I kind of went to school in Hyde Park. And growing up, man, like blacks and whites didn't get along. For what reason? Well, I mean probably history. You know what I mean? Man, I mean history on both sides. I don't mean it like as, we hated whites because of segregation and segregation and slavery. We just hated them because they was from a different world than us. Of course, the stigma of they're white, we're black, you know what I mean? In the same way. If a black person ran into those neighborhoods that I talked to you that was predominantly white, there would be issues as well. They would get chased out of those neighborhoods. Boston was a segregated place. So a lot of my early crimes had to do with me having anger and just, frankly, beating up a lot of white kids, you know what I mean? And, doing a lot of dumb shit in particular. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I got later on in life that I started realizing, man, again, man, we're more alike than, disalike if you get to know a person. So now, what I do is I judge a person by the individual. Yeah, there's racist, people, and yeah, there's prejudice on both sides. But at the end of the day, we always have to get along. We always have to find common peace. And if we really want society to be better, we have to learn to work together. You know what I mean? And that comes with, having acknowledgement of both our wrongs, man. The wrongs that we've done and wrongs they've done. You know what I mean? Of course, man, there's a lot more on their side, man, and that's where the discouragement comes from black people. But you know, that's a discussion to be had and something I think that we can work for, towards too. But again, I was caught in the street life, and that meant acting out in any given way. So I went from petty fights, petty, um, just beating up and robbing people and stuff, or stealing stuff, bikes and stuff. And I went to that to being involved with gangs, to, wanting to feel the need to get a gun, to wanting to feel the need to really shoot the gun, to, feel that that sense of power, to feel the sense of everybody looking up like, okay, well, he's not to be played with. And I think the streets are something that can cave you in if you don't have the right mind, if you don't have the right influence. A lot of people can be misguided, and I was one of those individuals. I want to say everybody has that person around the neighborhood, man, that brings you in and you know, welcomes the new guy to the gang. Well, we had Li. You know what I mean? Li, man, was a guy, man, who welcomed everybody into the gang, man. Usually was the first person that all the younger kids ended up smoking weed with, man. You know what I mean? And Li was a great guy, man. Had great structure, man. Had a good family, man. Mother was someone, man, that really was down to earth, but was a hustler, man. Really was down to earth, man, but didn't take no shit. But yeah, man. That opened my world and my mind to new things, man. And once I started doing negative stuff and hanging around, more negative influences than I had already been around, it made me want to explore things even more. It made me want it to be further in the game. It made me want to sell drugs. It made me want to, you know, be on that mission. And it took me a long time to really understand why my mind was that way. Why did I wanna just hurt people? And it's something I still try to, I still look at for the answers now, because no matter what, I still have those thoughts. Whenever I get mad, thoughts of rage come to my mind. But now I'm in a much calmer place, whereas they don't rise to the level of I feel like a need to something. They don't rise to a level as I feel it's disrespect. It's rage that I feel like, wow, a person really hasn't grown yet. They haven't put themselves in someone else's shoes to see that sometimes that letting things go can be the best result for both of us. So they haven't learned that progressing an argument or progressing a disagreement sometimes isn't doesn't make sense. And that's something I had to learn the hard way, because I was one person that I didn't take any disrespect. It's like I wasn't the guy who was an aggressor. I was always the quiet guy. But when it came to handling something, I always wanted to be the first guy. I always wanted to make the statement. And I went through a lot of things, man. For those that don't know, of course, you know about the life without parole. But there was a time that I had one of the biggest cases where three innocent white guys were shot in the financial district of Boston. Now, we're on TV every day. Our life is on the line, but you stay true to the gang, you stay true to your friends, you stay true to the oath you took. In the life that I lived, I was willing to give my life up, man, so many times for things that didn't really mean anything, that really didn't have any worth or value. And I could have been in jail. Yeah, I did natural life and overturned it by the grace of God, man, and great lawyers. And, of course, my mother believing in mother and lawyers believing in me. But I could have did that 100 times over. I probably 20 different times I could have probably did over 12 years and erased my youth. And now I look at it like, what would I have gained in any of those situations? I wouldn't have gained anything. And I think the youth, they look at everything as what we're doing today, but they don't realize that, man, there's a whole life to live. In that small span that you usually end up doing a lot of time, or you end up dying, it's like a 5-year span. Once you get past 25, things kind of ease up a little bit. Once you get past 30, things kind of ease up a little bit more. Once you get to 40, you probably let a lot of those things go in life. You see what I'm saying? But it's just a cycle. It's a maturity level, man. It's acknowledgement of what's real in life, and what's based off of what you was taught in your environment. We have to understand the environment we live in is such a fucking small piece of the world. It doesn't really expand to the thoughts of what the majority of the population thinks. It doesn't even expand to what the majority of the population makes in money. The people that's doing a lot of illegal stuff, There's a lot of money, but when you look at it, how many people get to keep that fortune? How many people run off with that fortune and make a great living after that? I'm trying to tell you, man, the game is slim, man. You know what I mean? And I know more people doing natural life. Forget people that are doing long times and sentences. I know more people doing natural life without parole than 10 times. I know 10 times the people doing natural life without parole than I know the dudes that made it out the game from being successful off the drugs and whatever else they doing. I know 10 times the people doing natural life than I know people that made it off the game. You see what I'm saying? It's a losing cycle, man. And on top of that, a lot of motherfuckers ain't ready to do the time. Let's face it. A lot of you peoples, man, are doing crime and ain't ready to do the time, man. A lot of you know that you wasn't ready to come off the porch, yet stayed there with people that were in the game for real. And then when something happened, you was ready to tell on them. You know, I was faced with that same situation. I grew up, man, thinking, man, gang, gang, gang. You know, the now we powerful, we making money, man. We, you know what I mean? We're putting it down. We employing damn near half the fucking city. We got love. There ain't no one gonna cross us. Man, the people that was around us crossed us. They was crossing me for years. They was telling on me for years. They was volunteering my name to the police authority and anybody else who would listen for years. Jealousy's a motherfucker, man. But fear is even worse, man. When you're not ready to do that time, when you acknowledge to yourself that, whoa, I was playing a game that I wasn't ready for, but you've already been caught up. You see what I'm saying? If you're gonna be in the game, make those decisions before you get in them. Because there's people that, yeah, they might be doing wrong now, but if you give them enough time, they'll be able to make up their mistakes. They'll be able to turn their life around. But when you got rat bastards like you in the game that shouldn't be in for no reason, then guess what? You kind of take that away from someone, man. You hurt their families, not only yours, but you hurt their families, their kids, their everything about them, man. It's like you have to come to that acknowledgement before you step off the porch. And a lot of people just want to think it's a game and jump off the porch. So that's my lesson to everybody. If you're not ready for it, don't come out. And for the people that are ready for it, I want to say, how long do you think they're gonna live in the game? How long do you think that you're better than everybody else and you'll win and someone else won't? There's a lot of knowledge in the game. There's a lot of great tools you could take from the game. But there's nothing worth value that you can win from the game. That's real talk. If you're a hustler, then guess what? You was a hustler before you got in the streets and you can win on that. If you're fucking smart, guess what? The game motherfucker taught you fucking, street knowledge, which is sometimes a lot more important than book knowledge. But it didn't fucking invent you anywhere that you could take that, man, and fucking win with it. That, really, if you're smart, you're smart. You could have won without that fucking game. It might have just taught you to be a little sharper. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is that with life, you have to grow up and make sure you grow every day. Make sure that, it doesn't have to be financially. Make sure you grow mentally. Sometimes it can't do it all mentally. Make sure you're growing where you're caring more about yourself and others. CBM, man, stands for a lot of things, man. Casual business moves is the forefront. But I like to think, man, it stands, man, for making sure that we connect with the kids, man. Fuck the publishing, fuck the books. CBN means, man, I'm for the peoples of the street. It means that I want to make a difference. It means that I want to be able to go into these neighborhoods that the politicians won't go, that the police can't go to talk to, that certain motherfuckers that even from the streets can't go and talk to. I want to be able to be the bridge, man. I want to be able to talk to the guys, man, and offer them a different chance, man, a different change for fucking, to quit banging. I know nobody's going to quit banging because they think I'm an OG. I don't think that my name holds that much worth that I can go and talk to the young boys and say, listen, man, this is what you need to do because I've been through this and that. But if I can give them the tools and if I can give them resources, I do believe they'll believe in me. I do believe I can sit in those hallways that no one else want to be in and get their ear. Why? Because I've done it. Why? Because I've been there. And I come from the belly of the beast. Why? I've dealt with the kids, man, when I was in the joint. I wasn't one of those old heads that was like, oh, y'all are over here, we over there. I'm like, listen, man, I understand what you're going through. You see what I'm saying? You gang, I'm gang. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it in a more mature manner. I'm never going to just say I'm not now. I'm always now. But now to me, man, means something more powerful than it meant before. Back then it meant gang. Now it means entrepreneurship. Now it means, man, a group of leaders, man, willing to change the game, change the name of the game. And I'm just hoping the city has our back like we've had the city. We do the toy drives, we do the turkey drive. We don't do that because, we're looking for recognition. We don't do that because, we feel like down the line it's going to pay up. We do that because we've taken so much. We want to give so much back. We do that because we want to show the neighborhood that we're in a place of growth, that we're in a place of entrepreneurship, that you can believe in what we do is going to be right. And all I'm asking for, man, is for the leaders, man, of the government, man, to give us that same leadership, to show us that same care. You can't put people in line that never been in the streets and think they're going to have an effect on a street person. A lot of times, man, what we're doing is giving a Band-Aid, man. We're giving money to these programs of people saying, oh, I know a street fucking person. And yeah. And then something happens and they take credit for it. But where are those people, man, when it comes to, them people loading up the guns and they need someone to talk to and say, hey, not today, man. Put that shit down, man. Let me make a call. Let's see if we can resolve this situation. There's not a lot of people in the city that can do that. There's not a lot of people in the city that have that position. And there's not a lot of people in that city that want that. Let's be honest. I'm one of those people that want to make a change. I'm one of the people that don't shy away from violence. I don't shy away from the gang life. I don't shy away from any negative activity that might be looked at, in the wrong way by the police. I've been there. I've done that. I was the ones who faced police brutality. I was the kid that was 13 being thrown on cop cars. I was the one man who was getting, harassed and thrown to the ground by police. But guess what? When I got old, I was the one that was doing all the violence. I was one that the police deserved to chase. I was the one that police would accuse of shit and actually have done it. You see what I'm saying? So it goes both ways, man. As much as you can say the police this, police that, a lot of times police respond after the shootings. A lot of times we done already did the acts of violence, man, and they're just coming to pick up the pieces. So are they part of the problem? I think, man, we know that everybody's part of the problem, but we are the problem. You know what I mean? We need to concentrate more on making money less on trying to motherfucking spend. It's crazy because I was locked up, and I'll never forget this because it was the realest shit a DA ever said. A DA actually got on the news and said, "We knew these individuals were making money, were fucking making millions, were doing everything, but they messed up when they picked up guns and started causing violence in the street." You hear what he said? We knew they was doing that, but we had, excuse me, I forgot. He said we had other things we had to worry about. In other words, I don't care about the money you make, man. It's the violence you create. It's the noise that fucking brings all the fucking trauma. Now, ideally, of course, nobody wants you to fucking do anything illegally. But at the very least, don't complicate a situation by making it worse. Be smart, man. Be in the game, man, and grow, man, mentally and get out the game. But if a real smart motherfucker would never even get in the game, a real smart person will say, I did, I saw the mistakes that everybody else made, and it didn't pay off for anybody. A real smart person would get a trade, man, and be in a situation to retire with it, and when they turn 30, be in a situation to be like, yo, I got everything I wanted from that gang life without going through the gang. I accomplished all the friendships, the respect. I fucked all the bitches. I got my car, my house. I did everything I needed to accomplish. I just didn't have to do it with violence. At the end of the day, you can't win being in jail. And let's face it, the jail life comes with the gang life. If you're going to be 10 toes down, best believe you'll be 10 toes down in that cell. It just comes with it, man. There's no, oh yeah, I ain't never got caught. Well, if you did, man, all hats to you. And I pray that you never do. But you're like 0.1%. And a lot of times those guys, that 0.1%, those are the guys that stayed away from the gun violence. So let's look at that. But yeah, I mean, what did I gain by being in the game? I probably beat 3 fucking gun cases, man, that could have fucking landed me in fucking life, man, forever. I got away from so many situations that could have landed me in life forever. And now I have no resentment to the people that I wanted to kill forever. It just makes no sense, man. What do you want in life, and what do you want for your family? What do you want as a whole? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? We have to learn to be united, man. Because, man, we have to understand there's a fight against us. There's a economical fight against us fucking being successful. No one wants us to win. No one wants us to be on top. But there's a way we can do it. It starts with coming together. It starts with saying, listen, we have more economical money, men, in situation that we can change whatever the fuck we want. I'm not saying that you have to go against the powers to be, but at least stand up so they recognize who we are and know not to go against us. You know what I mean? That's real talk. As you see, man, Casual Business Moves Publishing behind me, it's a brand I stand by. It's a brand that, I hope to one day, man, put a stamp on Boston, man, as something, man, that led the way for the new generation, as well as my generation. We had times that great times. We lived life, but Boston's a place of money, man. It's a place where people come to be greater in life. We have the best colleges. We have some of the best fucking government. Whether people believe it or not, we don't never lose with the rest of the country. And we're starting to put together some of the best powers when it comes to the community, man. When it comes to the city councilors, when it comes to the mayors, when it comes to the government, when it comes to the police force. Believe me, Boston's not as bad as you think it is, man. When it comes to the police, believe me, a lot of cities are worse. But of course, man, every city can get better, mine's included. And that's something that we need the government to understand as well, is that there's a reason why there's distrust from the police to the gangs. There's a reason there's a distrust from the police to the pre-teens that haven't even got into gangs. There's a reason there's a distrust from the mothers to the grandfathers. We just need to do better as a community. We need to do better as basically an organization, because that's what we all are. We're all part of one organization. You say one nation, but it's one organization. How are we going to live? How are we going to come together? What are we going to do to make ourselves a better nation than the next? Because at the end of the day, if this nation fails, then guess what? All of us fail. We all lose economically. We all lose in a sense that we don't have the same freedoms that we've had. And that's another thing, man. We always have to be respectful of each other. We might come from different backgrounds. We might have different, things that we like. I don't disagree with any nationality, any race, any gender. I don't care if whatever you do. Whatever you do is whatever you do. But let's stop attacking each other. Let's stop trying to come down on each other. Let's realize that, man, we all make mistakes, that we all need each other. And if we're going to win, we have to win together. I don't claim to be a savior. I don't want to be a savior. I don't claim to be, someone that's to be looked up to. I don't want to be that person. I want to be someone who's known for doing good. I want to be known for someone who made a change in his life, who showed the world that you can be one way, the worst way, but turn your life around. I can't tell how many times I woke up as a youth and said, today I'm going to shoot someone else. Today I'm going to catch an enemy. Today's going to be that day I catch a body. Those are days I can never get back. Those are moments I time jacked myself. When I say time jacked, I learned that from a good friend, and basically moments I'm never going to get back. From now on, I'm looking to make memories that I can express with others, memories that I can show you and be proud of my life and say, listen, I lived a great life. I did a lot of good. And at the end, these are the moments, man, I was at my happiest. I can only tell you, man, like a lot of other people that was in jail. Jail was probably the moments that I was at my lowest, the moments that I wished I was home, that I wish I could have a second chance, that I wish I could be around my loved ones. Those are the moments that I cherished, the things that I never took, serious. Having the kids in my life, having females and that I could easily have access to, being to go wherever I want to go, not having someone to be an authoritative figure over me that's not even older than me. Like, these are the situations we put ourselves in. These are the situations we end up losing in life. A situation that might have lasted 2 minutes might cost you 40 years. How are you going to win? Where do you want to win at? And what you're going to do as your next step to make yourself a greater. That's all I want to do. That's all I want you to do. CBM Publishing, man, we're trying to do great things. Once again, man, as always, fantasies of passion, wrong turn right, source of information, and fantasies part 1. Fantasies of passion part 1. This is the brand that I built. These are the leg that I stand on. And I only hope that you follow me in the path to make sure that we're great together. As always, your author of the day, J.Williams, aka 8. The nail, baby. Cheer.